Hello, welcome back to Furious Driving and to this, the rustiest Lagonda on the planet. And a car so angular I was forced to wear my Volvo 740 t-shirt, a t-shirt which is incidentally available from the links in the description below. Just thought I'd mention that while we're at the beginning of the video. This car has progressed a little bit since the last time we saw it a week or so ago. At the moment, it still does look pretty terrifying, to the point that the rust is now so badly visible that we've had correspondence from an SS Titanic to complement it on its ability to dissolve. So starting on the outside of the car, this is what should be the diagonal outer skin, which is currently flapping loose on the ground. That's one of the few remaining parts of that outer diagonal skin, which sort of covers a box section of steel, which you can actually put your hand up inside now, no longer a box section. And on the inside, if you tap hard enough, there's a good chance your knuckles will go through it. Sorry, Simon, I've just made some more sweeping for you. The floor doesn't look particularly impressive. This side is worse than the other side, but to be perfectly honest, that side isn't a huge improvement. So these floorboards and these sills are going to have to be replaced. Fortunately, this central spine does look quite good, but even these panels here that the rear seats would sit on and the arch tubs look pretty terrifying as well. And this is, sorry Simon, more welding, more sweeping for you. And yeah, not good there either. In the front of the car, the kickboards, as I say, have gone. You can see the back of something shiny there, which is a chassis rail, I believe. Oh, that's not good. Kickboard's crusty there, you can feel it crumbling underneath your fingers. That's not great. That would have been the glove box. That's not great. And generally not great. With the windscreen out, there's rust here in the scuttle, not particularly surprisingly. And then with the radiator and things removed, you can see that this front cross member has also seen better days. But this isn't a big deal because all of this kind of stuff is going to be replaced. Over on the driver's side, yeah, more of the same. That footwell is not a special place to be. More holes behind the pedals. In fact, the entire pedal box looked like if you put your foot down there, you could put your foot through it. This side of the floor is a touch more solid, but only a touch. And we've got handbrake cable, I think that is, visible through there. This sill doesn't look quite as terrifying, although it is fairly hollow as previously. And although you can't put your fingers through there at the moment, it wouldn't take much of a tap with a screwdriver or a hammer to achieve that. And this is interesting. The rear quarter panel had to come off. All the panels on the corners are going to have to come off at some point. So Simon got the wheel out last night and had a look at how this was held on. There's no visible sign of where the actual joint is for this aluminium bodywork to go from the roof to the side. So he just had to take the shortest distance, straight edge, and cut across just there. And then he made the interesting discovery that this isn't bonded on. This is just seam sealer or some kind of, I don't know, we don't really know exactly. It's not a bonding agent, or it's not anymore. It was held on by rivets. This car is riveted together. So yeah, we can see now, I was going to say it's only surface rust, but you can see daylight through that bit just there. So there's more rust just there, more rust just there. That is excessively frilly on the bottom of there. Let's take a look at the wing itself. Now, being aluminium, it hasn't actually rusted that badly. It's almost surprising. There's a bit of accident damage here in this corner, and the rear bumper is bonded in fiberglass into one big panel, which is this thing here, this big rubbery, plasticky lump. So yeah, that had to come off. And if I look inside, you can see down the bottom where the fiberglass lower section is bolted on to the aluminium. But it's some kind of aircraft grade aluminium. It's a special kind of aluminium apparently, though I forget exactly what kind. I've taken the bumper off for you. And that fiberglass section was held on by rust and 2, possibly 3 bolts hidden by a bit of a stainless trim. It needed to come off anyway, because that's very rusty. Increased the amount of sweeping required. Now Simon did say he had one very near miss the other day when he was taking the rear glass out, and this rubber is not in the best shape in the world, and he was cutting the rubber seal out, and it was coming out relatively well, very easily as far as we can tell. It had lost completely. This bit of metal trim doesn't exist on the other side, and as he got it most of the way around, the bit of rubber at the bottom decided it was no longer going to be gripping the glass, and the thing just slid down. Unfortunately, it caught here in this lip rather than sliding all the way down and shattering on the floor, which would have been bad. So as the car comes apart, it is giving up its secrets. For example, we didn't realise this car had got remote Koni gas shock absorbers. This is one of them, which fell out when the pipe thingy snapped in half. So, oops. So although the car is held together by pop rivets, there is some pretty exciting and expensive technology in there. The other one is still in place, but the bottom has literally fallen out of it. Okay, so this does look horrific, and that's because it is, but this is actually not a bad situation to be in right now, because this is going to be torn apart for the EV installation and it needed a strengthened chassis or frame putting into it. This is, in some ways, although terrifying, a good place to be beginning from, because we can take out, what I say we, this is the royal we, this is Simon doing it, not me. These rusty box sections can be taken out, and instead of being an old, not too strong box section, a brand new galvanised, strong box section can go in either side, and then this cosmetic outer bit can be put on afterwards. Crossways box sections can be added as well, giving far more torsional rigidity to the thing, making it a much stronger shell to be in so the car can't twist when the beans are given from the electric motor. And let's have a look around the back as well. I was today years old when I discovered that these cars use a De Dion tube rear axle with inboard brakes. I never knew this. So like a Rover P6 and E-Type Jags and things, all that unsprung weight is reduced and removed and stuck up right there in that big donut lumpy thing in the centre of the car. This is all going to go for two reasons. First of all is strength. To make this thing an awful lot stronger, they're going to be looking at putting in a rear subframe that can bolt onto that new strong box section chassis, which will be integrated into the monocoque of the shell. So looking at something like a V12 or V8 BMW, those kind of things, they're trying to find one with a differential which will take enough power and an axle width that will be roughly the same kind of thing to fit neatly in there without too much adaptation. So that's one thing. Secondly, electronics, because they're going to be putting in traction control, stability control, ABS, all those kind of electronic-y things, they're going to need more modern braking systems included. And as good as that might have been back in the day, that's not going to be able to take all those modern computerized additions, which the car is definitely going to need. A couple of follow-ups from the last video. First of all, here is the rust pile, which has grown, well, it's about doubled actually in size in the bottom of this box, I think. In terms of weight now, it was hard to lift before. Now it's getting to the point where it would actually be difficult to lift, actually take it off the ground, even with two hands free. That is got to be, I'm guessing here, about 40 kilos of rust in there. That's pretty significant. Secondly, someone said they used to have a set of these speakers in a car, and they were something like £600 back in the late 80s, which means these are a couple of £1,000 speakers somehow. And when I said this was the volume control on the side, when I was looking at it through the rear windscreen, I was wrong. This says antenna angle. It's quite a strong resistance on that little wheel. And here you can see on this one where the wire cover has come off with the magnet of the other one, it's a quadruple cone speaker. The big bass one, the mid-range and two tweeters. That's quite an impressive array. No wonder it costs so much money. Right, so this is a mess. I'm going to leave Simon to it and come back in a week or so's time and see what progress we've found. And by progress, I mean more destruction. So we're back a couple of days later and there is big changes. Yes, the car has rotated, but more than that, a big bit has fallen out of it. We can now see into the engine bay because that is now not containing that. The Aston Martin Lagonda V8 with its quadruple carburetors is now consigned to the dustbin of history, because this is going to be electrificated before too long, because this is part of this massive project. Now this, as you can see, does have a certain amount of rust and tree on it, and underneath the car there is more rust and various other bits of detritus. It was quite quick in terms of coming out overall. It took about 3 hours apparently for 2 people to take it. I wish I had seen this. I was so gutted to have missed it. But basically everything was rusted solid, nothing undid. Everything came out with a Sawzall or force. This is the engine mount, which actually I think these bolts did undo, but the engine mount itself just fell in half. The rubber plate just dissolved underneath it. So now we can see finally exactly what we've got. This is now the starting point. From here, Simon and the crew can start, well, assessing what to do next. They've got a couple of choices on electric motors, they've got a couple of choices on battery, location and type, and of course, once they've made those decisions, they can work out what they can do to rebuild the frame and the structure of the car to accommodate that. Rather them than me. I feel a bit like Kevin McLeod because I'm being so negative at the moment, but I'm sure it's going to be absolutely incredible in about 6 months to a year's time. Oh, look, there's some liquid down there. I'm assuming that's oil or power steering fluid or brake fluid rather than just more of the lake that this was sat in. The transmission tunnel does look like the only good bit of metal in the car, incredibly. Not quite sure how that survived so well. Front chassis legs seem pretty good as far as the crossmember, which it stops being okay. So there we have it. This is now ready for the next stage. I'll leave you here and we'll join it again in another, well, few weeks' time and see exactly how the progress is going. Take care, everybody. Like and subscribe to see the rest of this, and we'll see you soon. Take care.